Hi Stitchy friends, my name is Barb. I'm also Stitch Brat here on both YouTube, on Flosstube, as well as on Instagram. If you are interested in following me there, I'm pretty active on Instagram. Today is Monday, November 10th, 2025, and this is Flosstube number 22. I'm out on my sun porch again, even though we actually have snow on the ground today in Michigan. But it's a beautiful sunny day, and on my sun porch it's actually, I even have the fan on, it's so warm. So hopefully I can get another hour of warmth, and it's a perfectly blue sky, so I'm thinking that the sun is going to last for a while. But we'll go ahead and get started. So my plan today is just to tell you about what I've been stitching on since my last Flosstube, which was I think a little less than a month ago. And I will also, I don't really have any big plans or anything, but I was at a retreat last weekend. In fact, I just got home yesterday, and I'll share a little bit about that. I don't really do big retreat recaps, but this was kind of a regional retreat held here in Michigan. So, and it was great. So I just thought I would, do a little recap of that at the end. Okay. And then I have the first thing, I do have a finish, but I don't have the actual item here because what I finished was both the design for the small that I used for the smalls exchange at the retreat I went to, and then I also actually finished it into an FFO, so I have that as well. So I'm going to pop in a couple pictures here, and I'm going to just have them take up the whole screen so you can see them better. So the first picture is going to be this is just the pattern, the design, finished design. And this is a Rosebud Small from Carolyn Manning Designs. The pattern has 3 different designs on it, all smalls like this, all round, and this is the 3rd design of that. And I stitched it on 18 count Aida, or no, I did not. I stitched this one differently. This was on 36 count Mocha linen by Be Stitch Me, which I stitched over 2 threads. And then I turned it into a pincushion, and here's a picture of that. This isn't a great picture, sorry. I was in a big hurry to get this finished the night before the retreat started. But I've made a couple of these pin cushions previously for smalls exchanges, so if you've seen any of my other Flosstubes, you've already seen it. But anyway, that's what I did for this, the smalls exchange, and I packaged it along with a couple other little needle minder and some other goodies in a little box. And I'm actually, I'm not going to show most of the stuff that I got or did and stuff at the retreat, but I wanted to show that because that's really my only finish this month, my only real finish. I do also have a segment finish, or what I call a partial finish, and so we'll go ahead and start getting to that. And then I've got maybe 12 whips, I think, to show you, something like that. So we'll just get going here and see how we go. My husband is upstairs right now, so I'm also hoping that I can do this before he comes back down and, I don't know, bugs me or interrupts or something, even though I have a sign on the door which says not to interrupt me, but sometimes he's not good at reading signs. Okay, so my segment finish is my first thing, the thing that I always show first on my videos, and this is what I call my seasons project. And this is Carolyn Manning's design, all the patterns. So she has 4 seasons-based sets of small patterns. And I'm stitching them all together on one piece of fabric in kind of a quilt-inspired arrangement. And my goal is 1 block a month. And so far, I'm on that goal. I started this on January 1st. So first I'll show you the block that I finished, and then I'll show you the whole thing. So the block that I finished in October, there we go, is this summer, this one on the end here. This is the third block from the summer series. And I'll try to come in a little closer with that. And I think of all the summer blocks so far, this one is my favorite. I don't know, there's something about that center block and how the colors radiate out from that I just really love. I just think it's beautiful. And then as far as whips go, here is what I'm working on now, and this is the third. Let me get that a little bit better. This is the third autumn block. So I need to have this done by the end of November, and it's only November 10th, so I don't think that will be a problem. I like to actually stay ahead if I can, because then if I have other things that I need to do, you know, I don't have to worry if I miss a day or something on this. But I generally work on this every morning for maybe between half an hour and an hour, something like that. And then I'll show you the whole thing. This might be a little hard. I'm kind of in a cramped area so that the sun isn't shining right on me, but oh, there we go, that works. So here's what the whole thing looks like so far. And you can see that I'm arranging them diagonally like you might in a quilt, similar blocks or blocks made with the same, you know, colors of fabric. So since these are all sort of quilt inspired designs, I thought that kind of fit. And then I've got a couple things done in the fourth row there, frames ready to go. So after I finish autumn, what goes next to it is the third winter design. And then that row will be complete. And that should take me to the end of the year. So this will either, depending on whether I do 4 rows or 5, it'll either be done in April or in August of next year. So I'm leaving that as a decision for next year. And what I'm talking about is, if I do all 16, they're going to make a square. It's going to be a square 4 by 4. And I don't usually like square designs, so I've left enough room in case I want to do one more row along the bottom, and then I would just repeat maybe the top row or whatever. Although at the retreat this weekend, I was showing that to somebody, and she suggested that if I do it as a square and I leave it, I could hang it, you know, so it's in a diamond shape for something, you know, sort of a unique perspective, and then it wouldn't be just the square shape that I don't like. And I had not thought of that at all, and I actually think that's a great idea. So if I get to April and I just don't think I can do another row, because, you know, that's a lot of effort, they're full coverage, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll stop stitching there and just decide to frame it and then hang it as a diagonal. I don't think that is a bad option at all. Okay. So my next whip is the one I usually, I'm not sure how many times I've shown this, but I think I'm going to start showing it second if I haven't done that already. And this is the stitch along that I'm working on from Carolyn Manning, and this is called Garden Trellis Stitch Along. And she's releasing one of these blocks every month. I am not keeping up with that because I've committed to doing my seasons project into one block a month on that. And the blocks on this trellis pattern, I'll put a picture of the pattern up here, the first one that I'm working on. They're actually bigger. I think they're like 107 by 107 or something like that. And although they're not full coverage, there's plenty of stitching in them, and it's pretty fussy stitching. You're changing colors a lot. So they take a while to do. And so last Flosstube, I told you that I was almost done with the first block, and in fact I was. And I promised you that I would have it done by this floss tube, by the time I made my next floss tube. And I lied, because it's not done. And I hope that you are truly my stitchy friends and don't judge me, because I just had the best intentions and I don't even know why. I don't know why it's not done. It's not done because I didn't work on it enough. There you go. I don't know, it's not that I have to be in the mood to work on this, but it takes focus because of all the fussy stitching, and I don't know, maybe I just had stress and needed something easy or something, I don't know. But anyway, please forgive me since it's not done, but here's where I am on the first block. And as you can see, truly, this time it is almost done. All I have is that bottom corner to fill in. There's a bunch of different, I think I have maybe 3 or 4 colors of doodads here and there that go in there. And then there's a little bit of back stitching on this design that goes around some of the green areas and to make them look like leaves. But other than that, this is done, and I mean, it's gorgeous. So my original thought was I was going to try to have one of these done, one block done every 2 months. And I'm still going to shoot for that, but you know, if I don't know, I should have a second block done by the end of the year if I'm going to stay on that schedule. And I mean, I'm not sure that's going to happen. So no promises, but I'm going to try to keep up with one block every 2 months or thereabouts. So this fabric is an 18 count Aida, and look how beautiful that is. This is by Fiber on a Whim, and it's called Celestine, Celestine. And what it is, I'm not sure how well the camera is picking it up. It looks like pretty well. It is a beautiful pale mottled lavender. It is just absolutely the most exquisite color. I just love this fabric. So eventually there'll be 12 of those designs released, and I'll have all the designs and I'll just be, you know, way behind, and that's okay, I guess. Okay, so let's just get to the whips now, I guess. I don't really have a particular order for these, but let me see what I got here. And I did have a couple, I think I got either 1 or 2 new, 2 new starts are in my whips. So, okay. All right, this first one is a shooting star pattern by Carolyn Manning. And I'll pop a picture of it in here. This is called Grandma's Lilacs. And I'm working on this one with my friend Carla, Stitch Me Sane. And she and I started this together a couple years ago. And I've decided this is going to be my next shooting star to work on toward a finish. So that just means I work on this one more than my other shooting star patterns that I have going. But I don't work on it exclusively or anything. But here's where I am on Grandma's Lilacs. And I think I've been working down that long side. Well, no, that's not true. I've been working over here mostly, which is page 3 on the design, on the pattern. I think I've gotten that done. And one of my goals as I'm working this one toward a finish is that I'm trying to not leave little bits here and there that have to be filled in later, because sometimes, even though I'm pretty good at cutting my thread to be able to do exactly 1 diamond or whatever, since I've done enough of these, I mean, sometimes, you know, whatever, my tension is a little bit different and I'm just a little bit short. And, you know, I would sometimes leave those little bits until, oh, the next time I use that color. But I'm telling you, I'm not doing that anymore, because it is a pain to come back when this whole thing is done and all you have to do is fill in little bits here and there. So I'm trying, that's one of the things I'm trying to do, is keep it solid as I go down. So this is on 32 count Lugana, and I think this color is, it's either called lilac or lavender. I think it's called lavender. And it's just a plain Lugana from Zweigart. It's not hand dyed or anything like that. And I do all my Carolyn Manning shooting stars on Lugana or an even weave or sometimes on Aida, because like the stitches on those need to all look exactly the same to get the right effect. And to me, the only way to get them to look the same is to, linen, sometimes you have a few stitches that look different. So even though I love stitching on linen, it's not the right thing for those. Plus they're full coverage, so even though I'm going to have some fabric showing at the edge if I end up framing them or whatever I do, I don't know that I want to expend the money for linen on all of those either. All right. All right, well, we're in a purple frame of mind here. My last two have been purple, so I might as well show you another purple. Okay, this one is Silhouette Heart. This is by Charting Creations, I think. This was a freebie pattern if you bought a pattern or something like that. I don't quite remember, but I'm not sure if it's still available on their site or if it's available if you pay for it, or I really don't remember. I mean, I really don't know because I haven't checked, but it's a great pattern. And I'm a big sucker for hearts, and so when this is another one I'm stitching with Carla, Stitch Me Sane, and I think when she told me she was stitching this, or they were going to start this, she and some friends were starting this, like, I can't turn down a heart pattern. So, and here's where I am. And I just think this looks hilarious because to me, right now, it looks like a bird, right? A bird's head with a beak. But actually, of course, it goes like this, but then the heart shape is going to come down like that. So this is just heading toward the middle of the heart. So I probably need to work on that so it doesn't look like a bird anymore, but there's where it is. This is kind of my travel project, and take it places like doctor's office where you might have to wait. Because, it's one color. I can outline an area if I want to then just fill it in. And I can usually I just take threaded needles with me, and I don't even take the floss. And, I just need a pair of scissors and I'm good to go. So I don't really need to bring very much. And that's what I really like about this. And I've stitched on it a bit lately because I did stitch on this at the retreat, because obviously it's a good retreat stitching piece for the same reason. I had some areas outlined and ready to fill in, and when you're busy talking to people and you might make mistakes, that kind of stitching is just the easiest thing to do. There it is. Okay, I want to make sure the name of the fabric. Okay, this is on 32 count linen by Be Stitch Me, and the color is Nightshade. And it is a beautiful mottled purple. And I was going to say the wrong color name, so I'm glad I checked on that. She has some beautiful purples, and I think I've got them all going. All right. Let's do this one. Well, no, I'll do this one next. Okay. Next, I have another Carolyn Manning design, and this is one of her stained glass inspired pieces. And this one is called Garden Glass, and the colors are like, what you might expect from flowers or in a garden. And here's where I am on this. So I've got that middle window, since these are stained glass windows, right? All outlined, and I'm working on filling that in. And I took this to the retreat with me as well, and I didn't quite have all the outlining done, so I managed to finish the outlining and get a little bit started on the solid fill-in, but obviously I have a lot more to go on that. This is currently one of my most popular things that I post on Instagram for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. I mean, it's beautiful, but when I post this, it just gets more views and more likes and more shares and more everythings. And then because it gets those, Instagram shares it with more people that they wouldn't normally. And this thing sometimes goes crazy. So, and it's not even, it's not even halfway done. So it's beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful pattern. But sometimes I find I can't really figure out why people prefer one thing over another. But, so I'm stitching this on I think this is a 16 count Aida, and it's light yellow, which I think you can probably tell, and the color is called Sunshower, and I think this is a Witchelt Perman Aida that I think I got on Amazon, because they actually have a pretty good selection of those Witchelt Perman Aidas, and I don't otherwise have anywhere really to buy those, and they've got some great colors that really just you don't really see anywhere else. Okay, did I do this one? Okay, no, I did not. Let me see. Sorry, just trying to decide what I want to show next. Oh, I'll show this one next. Okay, this one I didn't work on a lot, but I did work on it some. Let me get this one. I have a paper pattern. This is Woodland Santa by Autumn Lane Stitchery. This is came out a few years ago, and it was pretty popular. And I got this in a kit exchange last year at the same retreat that I just went to. They do a kit exchange, which I think is a great idea. It can either be a ready-made kit or one that you kit up yourself, but it has to include everything, floss and fabric. And this is what I got in the kit exchange. And I did start it actually last year. Nowhere near done this year, but it's really fun to work on. But Autumn Lane Stitchery, you can see that was all, I'm sure you could see that was all full coverage, pretty much. So, it's not really fast stitching, but it's beautiful. Here's where I am. So I'm almost done with that first kind of top part, and then the bottom part is the bigger part, but has Santa in it. So I'd like to get that top part done. I mean, there's no reason I haven't worked on this. I should come in closer, shouldn't I? Sorry. I mean, I don't mind stitching things out of season, so I'm okay that, it hasn't been Christmas. I could have still been stitching on this. I just haven't. But now that it is closer to Christmas, I don't know. I'm becoming more of a seasonal stitcher as I go along for some reason. Sometimes I do feel like stitching things, especially Christmas, I guess. Maybe because stitching something Christmas makes me feel Christmassy. Okay, and I do not remember at all what this fabric is, so I'm going to take a look. This is Bestitch Me 32 count linen in Luna Moth. That is Luna Moth, and I think you could tell, but the color is kind of a mottled. It's like a turquoise, but probably more green than. I mean, but it's not a pure green either. You can see, it's beautiful. Luna Moth. All right. All right, I thought I did that. Okay. Okay, here is the other, I think this is the only other Carolyn Manning shooting star I have to show you this month. This is Lagoon. I'll put a picture in here. This is the most recent one I started, and I started it for some reason, and now I can't remember what it was, but oh, I think I started this at StitchCon this year because I decided to just bring the pattern and floss and find a piece of fabric there, and I did. So here is let me do this with this one. Here is Lagoon, and I will come in closer. The camera is not really picking up. The camera is making this fabric look gray. It is not gray. It is a mottled. It's got grays in it, but also some greens and some blues and some sort of tans. It's called Ledger, and this is by Be Stitch Me also, and this is actually a 16 count Aida. I think at StitchCon, Be Stitch Me was one of the fabric vendors at StitchCon this year, and I think I actually tried to find Ledger in a 32 count linen or a 32 count even weave, but I think by the time I went and looked for it, like if there had been any, it was gone. But I'm perfectly happy doing this on Aida, and I think it looks wonderful. So I just love the colors in this. You know, I finished Beachcomber earlier this year, and I think I showed it in my last video. And Lagoon is, you know, kind of the same idea, like water and those kind of colors, but just a whole different, it's like a Caribbean, it's those gorgeous teals and, you know, Caribbean blues, and I just love it. So I got a decent start on that. Okay, I did that one. Decent start on that. Okay, all right, maybe I'll show you one of my new starts now. So a couple weeks ago, this was a totally unplanned new start. I hope others do that. I'm sure you do. And so what happened was I saw just a couple people on Instagram had posted these cute finishes or in progress pictures of these adorable bird patterns. And they weren't whimsical, they were more realistic looking. And they didn't look huge, and they just had the prettiest details. And so I started investigating, and they were done by a designer I had not heard of at that point, called Diana Bloom Designs. Bloom, B-L-O-O-M, Designs. And I immediately, I just found a needle in my arm. Something happened there. And put that here so I don't lose it. Yikes. So one of the people that posted mentioned that the design they had stitched that I just fell in love with was a design available on her Patreon. So I went and immediately looked up her Patreon, and I decided to go ahead, and I jumped right in because I looked at the other designs that had already been released in what she's calling her Bird Club, I think, or her Bird Series or something. And I mean, I know I want them. I'm not gonna be able to stitch one a month, but they're fantastic. But what I decided to start actually at first is a free pattern she has on her Patreon, and this is called Snowfall Chickadee. And I'm sorry this is black and white, but to be honest, I mean, I could do a color, excuse me, I'm sorry for that sneeze. That was unexpected. The color one, I don't know, you don't really get that much more because, you know, it's not actually a picture of a stitched piece. It's just like the pixelated rendition, just like this one is. So I'm just showing the black and white because it's easier. But it's just this adorable little guy with a pine cone and then the snowflake behind him. And like I said, you can tell, well, you can tell looking at this, her designs are realistic in nature rather than whimsical or whatever. And she often has these little, you know, like the pine cone or the little branch. She has other natural bits in there. So what she does, the way she works on her Patreon is every month she has people tell her what bird they'd like to see her design for the next month. And it has to be a real bird, and then like sort of why they want her to focus on that one. And then she, I think, does some research and she decides on one. So the one for November, it's some kind of a turkey, but it has like a special name and it's very colorful. It's just beautiful. She just released the design at the beginning of November. So, you know, sometimes they kind of go maybe with, have something to do with the month. And, but anyway, so, you know, her patrons on Patreon have an opportunity to kind of, I guess, jump into the design process a little bit and suggest things to her. So I decided to start Snowfall Chickadee because he's just so cute. And here's where I am on him. So what I've only been working on so far, I guess, is that big snowflake in the background. So there it is. And I went for a pretty dark fabric here, although it's photographing darker than it really is. It's not quite this dark. But this is called Coconut Shell, and this is a 36 count linen from Bestitch Me. And you know, my main thing there was I wanted the white to show up really, really well, and there's snow on that branch too, so, and the snowflake. So that was I wanted to make sure I went dark enough when I was looking through my fabrics. So isn't that the prettiest? If you like birds, check her out, Diana Bloom. Her real name is not Bloom, B-L-O-O-M. It's something like that, but it's spelled different, and I think she uses the name Bloom for her design name because it's probably just a lot easier for other people. But check her out on Patreon. I believe she also has an Etsy store. But once you're on Patreon, you can also buy previous Patreon designs. So that one that I fell in love with, which I think was the July design, I will buy that because since I'm a Patreon member, I can. And that's the one I originally fell in love with. But meanwhile, I'm getting all of them every month. And at some point, I will stitch them. Okay, I showed you my one heart that I said I'm not sure if I said I started that around Valentine's Day, but I think I did. Not this year, probably the year before. But this last year, in 2025, I usually do a new start on Valentine's Day for Valentine's Day, like in February. And I try to make them smaller so I can actually finish them in February, but the last couple of years I have not done that and they've been bigger. This one is called Love Letter by Susan, I believe it's Susan Ache, A-C-H-E, and I'll post a picture of it here. This is a free pattern she designed, and it's available on Fat Quarter Shop, and I think she designed it for Aurifil threads, which is why it's there, but you know, obviously you can use whatever you want because it's red on, I mean, she shows it as red on white, but I'm doing a wildly different rendition, so you'll see that in a minute. I decided to go wild with this, and this is probably not at all what Susan had in mind, so I hope she doesn't, I hope she's not offended if she ever sees this, but here's my rendition of Love Letter. Pretty wild, hey? So I worked on that lower band and that tiny border then, that last border, this month, and I'm almost done with that band, and I'm going to finish that band up at least before I put this away. So I'll come in closer. So this fabric is very bright and beautiful. It's not quite as dark as what it's showing up here, but it's pinks and purples, and this is called Punch, and this is a Bestitch Me 32 count linen. And the reason I have so many Bestitch Me fabrics is that I'm in her fabric club, Brandy's Fabric Club, and I actually get both the color club and the neutral club, but just in different counts and types of fabrics. So I have lots to choose from. But anyway, I just love this. I just think that this is, maybe that'll be my screenshot. I just think this is the prettiest thing. And it is kind of wild, but you know, I think it's great. So I'm using 2 shades of DMC on this. They're like dark fuchsia. It's 34 and 35. And the main color is 34, and then I'm using 35, which is the darker, or maybe I have that backwards. I'm using the darker color as mostly as accents. So an occasional small border, or just like bits here and there in some of the motifs. I love that. All right, that's my other new start. I'll wait and do that at the end. Oh, okay. Oh no. Don't fall, please. Okay. All right, here's my other, what I call my fan favorite on Instagram. This is Act of God by Long Dog Samplers, and I'm sure everybody's familiar with this. It's been out for a few years. I love Long Dog Samplers. I usually have one going, and you know, they're pretty intense stitching. So this one I'm stitching on 40 count vintage country mocha linen, using 1 strand of silk thread from Silks for You, and the color is PR 181. And the linen this will be kind of see-through, so I'm sorry about that, but here's where I am. Here's the whole thing. Hopefully you can see the whole thing. Well, you can see it. There's the bottom of the border, but here's everything I've stitched. And I'll come in a little bit on the part that I worked on in just a second. And I'll show you the floss better in a minute too, because everybody always likes to see the floss. So the part that I worked on is that big diamond with the 4 flowers in it. And as you can see, I'm almost done. I have the chevrons to finish and then that middle part to finish. And I'm using 1 strand of silk on this, in case I didn't say that. So here's what the silk looks like, and I'll just hold it up against there so you can see a little better. It's different, like not metallic, but like shades of metals, but like metals from the earth. So they're not metallic and shiny, but you know, there's like a coppery color in here, and there's a silver color, and there's like a dark gray color that's more like a slate color, and a gold. And you know, it's a heavily variegated floss. So as I'm sure you could see, I mean, the colors are very distinct, so it really moves from one color to the next. So many people on Instagram have asked me various questions about the floss and about how I use it. So I'll just maybe answer a couple of those here too. I do cross every X individually when I stitch on this, because if you don't, with a floss that has real separate colors and it's variegated like that, you won't get the look of separate colors. It'll just look it'll look tweedy, which could also look cool, but you won't have the look of different colors. So I do cross each stitch as I go, and then people ask me how I plan out, like where colors are going to go, and I try to do that as little as I can. I'm kind of just trying to go with the flow as much as possible. But sometimes with, say, an animal where there's 2 matching animals, sometimes you do want the 2 animals, I mean, they don't have to look the same, but maybe you want them to look kind of similar. So I really might think there, okay, well, his whole head is done in mostly that slate, because there's more of the slate than any other color. So maybe I'll just make sure both of their heads have mostly slate kind of thing. But other than that, I really just try to let the colors go where they go, and just sort of keep stitching. That's the plan on that. Okay, I think I have one more whip and then my other new start, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the retreat. Okay, so this one is, this one is Roses, and this is a kit by Luca-S. This is a European, one of the Eastern European cross-stitch kits. And as you can see, it's kind of a watercolor look. It's absolutely gorgeous, and the kit itself is absolutely wonderful. I'm using all the kit elements. It came with 16 count Aida, which there was plenty of it. It's nice quality. I think it's Zweigart. And I believe the threads for this are anchor threads. Luca-S kits always use branded everything. Now they do their own floss sometimes, so it'll tell you if it has Luca-S floss, which I haven't done one with Luca-S floss, but I'm sure it's fine. I mean, they use, it's the highest quality stuff. Like, this is good stuff. Like, there's a reason their kits cost more than other kits. And I show these every time, but I'll just kind of show them again. The floss comes on these kind of cards. So bobbins, big bobbins that hold, but they have little holes in them where you can put the thread that you've cut that you're working with. So very convenient. Like, those are super, and I like that they're flat, so you can just store them right with your project, right in the project bag. And I actually worked quite a bit on this one in October. And here's where I am. I mean, how beautiful is that? I just think it's gorgeous. So I kind of focused on filling in some little areas where I had ninja stitches here and there, so that it would look better, like especially when I do a floss tube, and I wouldn't have, I still do have a few areas where I have little bits of white right there, but I'm going to try to get those filled in too. But I was mostly working along this side, and I came down and I was working with mostly those greens. But then I kind of got tired of greens right toward the end of the month, and I think I started working, oh, well, right where my needle is there, in that area with pinks and whites. So I'll come in closer so you can kind of see better. But isn't that just the most beautiful thing? I can't wait. I mean, so this is actually not completely full coverage. There's a tiny bit at the bottom that isn't, but for all intents and purposes, it's full coverage. And this is really the first real full coverage I've ever done. And, you know, it's a good one for me because it's not too big. Like, it's not like a heaven and earth size, one of their main ones. And, you know, it has like a reasonable number of floss colors, maybe like 60, and the chart is clear enough that I can just use the paper chart, and like I feel like I can get this done in my lifetime. Whereas I just don't think I could ever do a full coverage that I admire people that do them, and I see these finished full coverage and they're just amazing. But most things I just don't love the design enough to want to work on it for that many stitches that it would take to get that done. But, you know, this is smaller, and I think it's going to come out like 10 by 10 or something, which is a nice size. And then, I mean, I would do another Luca-S kit in a minute as well. And I have some other ones, so that's probably a good thing. Okay, my last whip, this is a stitch along that was started at the retreat. And Tiffany, who runs the retreat was called Stitch Michigan, and it's held here where I live in Lansing, Michigan. And this year, Tiffany, who puts the retreat on, decided to do a a stitch along that the participants would start at the retreat. And then it's kind of a competition, and we have a year to finish it. And the competition is that there's 2 teams. You could choose from 2 patterns, or we ended up with 2 patterns. So one is, I think, the Plum Street Winter Moon. The theme was winter. That was the theme of the retreat. So there was Winter Moon, the Plum Street design that I think was just recently released. And then the other one, which I chose, was this Crochet A Go-Go pattern called Winter Sampler. And isn't that pretty? Like, I just love this, like the border especially. Like, look at that. Like the flowers and the snowflakes are just so pretty together. And I love all the little animals and trees. It's just really beautiful. So I did start this at the retreat, and if you were going to participate, you were supposed to kind of bring your fully kitted pattern along and get started at the retreat. So that's what I did. And I will show you where I am. So this is what I got done. I think I started this on Saturday, so just a few days ago. But I've got, sorry again for this, the show through, but I got, there's the bottom of the border, so this is how big it's going to be. And then I had to start putting in some of those, and I'll come up close on those, fold it so you can see better. Some of these, look at those adorable little flowers, and that's half of a snowflake up there, and then those little snowflakes. So I wanted to do some of the snowflakes to make sure that they were going to stand out enough on my fabric, which I knew they would, but I just wanted to see it. So this fabric is not really picking up, which I knew it wouldn't. This is 36 count linen by Bestitch Me, and the color is Boot Camp. And it's not picking up at all on the camera, but it has sort of the underneath tone is like a greenish tone. It's not green, but it's a greenish, like brown. And it is probably about this dark. And I auditioned a bunch of fabrics, and I had several that would have worked. But what I liked about this one was that the Boot Camp, the green in the fabric really picked up the greens in the design, in the flosses. And I just, I think that's really going to look nice when it's done. And so my big thing was I wanted to make sure that I had something dark enough that the white for the snowflakes and flower and stuff would show up really well. And I think it really does on that. So the goal is to finish it by next year's retreat, and then so it's a competition between the 2 teams, the Plum Street team and our team. How many people from each team get it done? And I think there were 14 people that were doing the winter sampler, and maybe 16 or 18 that were doing the Plum Street one. But I think people could still join in after if they wanted to. So hopefully we'll get some more people on our team too. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is Stitch Michigan. And if you are anywhere in the area, or maybe even if you're not, because some people came from pretty far away, you should consider coming to this retreat next year. The dates next year, I think, are November 6th through 9th. Don't quote me on that, but it's right around in there. Anyway, registration opens February 6th, and you register through it's a Facebook page on Facebook. Duh. It's a page on Facebook, and it's called Stitch Michigan. So if you join that group or follow that page, you'll get a notification, I think, or you'll be able to see when the registration opens. But it's February 6th. She's already given the dates. So if November of next year, early November, works out for you, it'd be a great retreat. Tiffany is just amazing. Her attention to detail and her organization and the fun things she plans, we did she had a couple of events planned, fun team events, like where tables competed against each other. And one of them was she called a stitching relay. And we were all like, well, what could this be? Well, what it turned out was she gave everybody a piece of Aida fabric, and then she actually gave you a little bit of time to even like practice and plan what you wanted to do. But you had to have 4 stitchers out of your table compete, and one person stitched a certain number of stitches normally on the Aida as they normally would. And then they passed it to the second person, and the second person had to stitch left-handed, the same number of stitches, and then the third person had to wear these crazy glasses that distorted your vision that she gave us. And then the last person stitched normally again. But part of it was that you were not allowed to thread your needle until she said go, and like the person that was stitching left-handed had to thread their needle left-handed, and the person that was stitching with those crazy glasses had to thread their needle with those crazy glasses on. So that was part of the fun. And unfortunately, we did not have anyone who was actually left-handed at our table, because that would have been obviously the great thing if you had somebody who was left-handed. But we didn't win, but that was much more fun than what I would have anticipated when she first told us about it. It just turned out to be really a fun thing, and she comes up with all kinds of stuff like that. And there were some fun make and takes. And then we had a pattern designed exclusively for us, not a complete kit, but Meridian Designs designed a pattern for us. Karen McEwen, I think her name is, the designer for Meridian Designs. And I'm not going to take this out of the plastic, but this was our exclusive pattern. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. This is called Winter Skater. And of course, she was designing around the theme of winter. But I'll come in. Isn't that pretty? Like, I love the way the girls' skates are like, you know, flinging up bits of ice into the air, just like a real skater would. And her hair flying, I think, is so pretty. And then there were fabric vendors there, and one of them, I think it's Fabrics by Stephanie, because I believe she's in Michigan. She had whatever this fabric is. I'm sorry, I don't remember, but whatever this fabric is, she had some available there, and people could buy the fabric if they wanted to use this fabric or whatever. So we got an exclusive pattern. And then Tiffany had us choose a small chart that she gave us a selection, all winter themed. And this was well before, it was after you registered and paid your money. But then she actually kitted it up, and it came with fabric and the actual floss and everything. And I chose this one, which is actually, I think, maybe started out as, or maybe still is, a free design from Owl Forest Embroidery. It's called Winter Dining. But I mean, it's got the flosses and this beautiful piece of fabric in there. And I believe that's a Fabrics by Stephanie, although I don't know the color. It's probably in there somewhere. And once I start this, I can let you know. And actually, I do need to show you this. Like, this is a typical Tiffany touch. Like, she included this in there, these little cards. So when I start this, I can put the date that I started it, the date that I finished it, the fabric that I used, and any notes I wanted to make about it. Like, how nice is that? Like, she didn't have to do stuff like that. Like, there's just tons of extra things like this that she does. Just really, really sweet. She thinks of everything. She thinks of everything. And then the other thing I will show you is that I mentioned last year that Woodland Santa was my kit that I got in the kit exchange, and I did the kit exchange this year. And there weren't a whole lot of people that did it, but I ended up with a Bothy Threads kit. And I am so excited about this. I have always wanted to do a Bothy Threads kit, and I just have never ordered one. you know, they're sort of known for these backgrounds that have these little speckles on them. And then they're animals, like they're fluffy animals in particular, like this little guy. They're cute and realistic at the same time somehow. And I just thought this was beautiful. And here's all the threads, and there's probably 8. Well, yeah, there's the 8 in there. You can see that it's got the speckles on it. So I'm just so excited that I got this in the kit exchange. And the one that I put into the kit exchange was a Dimensions Gold stocking kit that was, like, I did love it, but you know, I just finally admitted to myself, I'm probably not going to do complicated stockings anymore. I don't know. I mean, my kids are adults, and I mean, not that you can't do stockings, but I just decided that was a good one to let go. So anyway, I highly recommend this retreat if you're looking for one to go to, and it's within driving distance for you or a reasonable flight cost. Lansing is a great city. It's the capital city. I live here. It's held at a hotel that's right. It's sort of easy access to highways, and there's lots of things around, lots of restaurants. All the meals are on your own, but there's lots of restaurants and you know, things like that in the area. So there's a Starbucks right out the door and all that kind of stuff. So it's a great location, and just a great group of stitchers. And it's kind of a medium, what I'd call a medium retreat. I think there were 75 people. So if maybe you don't want to go to one that's just people that all know each other and it's real small, but you also don't want to do the StitchCon type thing where you have hundreds of people, it's a really nice in between. And everybody I met was just so wonderful, and there were great vendors that just had all kinds of stuff there. So anyway, I had a great weekend, and of course, as we all are after we go to retreat, I'm absolutely exhausted, which is why I'm not working on this Monday. I actually took today off. Tomorrow in the United States is Veterans Day, so I have tomorrow off. I work for state government, so it's a holiday for us. So I thought I might as well take Monday off and make a nice long weekend out of it. So that's all I've got, and I want to keep this under an hour, and I'm getting close to that right now. So I will let you guys go, and in the meantime, just remember to slow down and enjoy things and try to take life one stitch at a time. And I will see everybody in a month or so. So bye, stitchy friends.